Well, hey, here we are again. It's funny. I've been sort of the wandering minstrel uh, these days, and so I'm in a different place every time. So that's why I've had some snafus about being able to do this every single day. But that's life. Um, I hope this is working out. This is the quietest place I could find where I'm staying, but the lighting isn't exactly the best. So we'll make do. Um, this is day 5 of the Unapologetic Man. And so far, I've been talking about anyway, the 3 questions that every man must answer in order to really have a fulfilled life. Question number 1 was, who am I? We talked about who am I being really, that you are who you say you are. You get to be anybody you get to be, so to speak. You don't have to be stuck with, how things are for you right now. In fact, there are a lot of people in history that we look at who did not take their circumstances as as a life sentence, so to speak. And we actually admire these people. These people like George Washington Carver, who was born into slavery, or Tony Robbins, who had such abuse in his childhood and then was so poor that everyone's heard the, dishes in the bathtub story. Um, so it's really true that you decide who you're going to be and what you're going to make of yourself in the world. The next question is, what do I want? We talked about how what you really want is an experience of life, a certain experience, not particularly material things or achievement or status or power. You may want some of those things, but always behind those is an emotional experience that you're hoping that those things will provide, whether it's money or, like I said, position, status, power, any of those things. And sometimes you get that experience you're looking for, and sometimes you don't. A lot of people have, we've heard the stories of lottery winners or people who have made a lot of money and they thought it would make them happy. And not only did it not make them happy, it sometimes made them miserable and unhappy. Now, that doesn't mean that the money in itself is bad. It's really just what you do with it. Okay, so again, you get to say who you are, whether you have money or you don't. Today, we're going to talk about the third question, which is, where am I going? Excuse me. Where am I going? But before that, I want to tell a little story that happened yesterday morning to me, and it has to do with basically, who are you? That question. Because I'm traveling around and I'm staying different places. I've been in Denver and I was at the public library doing some work. So I'm sitting there and doing my work quietly, and I hear this voice behind me. Actually, this guy comes in, he sits behind me, and he's being very loud. He's banging around, he's throwing, and then he's talking, and I don't know if he's talking to himself or what's going on. And I have to say that my first reaction was to be irked. And I've recently have a little joke with myself that whenever I get irked, I feel like that's just another word for jerk. You know, when I get irked, that means my jerk is coming out to play. But I got irked, and I was thinking, wow, some people just don't have any, decorum, and they don't understand the rules. And there's this guy in my head, the irked jerk, who is very concerned about people obeying the rules, about things being fair, about all of these different things. I sometimes call him sheriff teacher, and he gets very officious about things. And definitely, you do not talk in a library. We all know that. You don't make noise and disturb your neighbor. Anyway, so I'm getting irked by this guy and thinking, well, what's wrong with him? And as I'm feeling this way, I actually start listening to him because he's being pretty loud. And I realize he's talking on the phone. And my first reaction is, seriously, you're talking on the phone in the library? I mean, really? Then I started listening to what he was saying. And it turns out he's homeless. He's a homeless vet. And he's talking to a possible employer. And he's saying, thank you. I'm so glad you saw my ad in Craigslist. Thank you so much for calling me back. He's being so polite and so sincere and so upbeat. And he said, he's answering questions and he's saying, hey, I can do heavy machinery. I can drive trucks. I can just about anything. But it's so hard when you don't have a place to live to get employment in order for you to make enough money to get a place to live. And it's just a vicious cycle. And I'm thinking, wow, that's such a catch 22. And yet he's just being so awesome in his attitude. And he said, well, thank you. When can I call you back? When you can, okay. And he gets a number and he hangs up, and then he's on another phone call. And now he's on the phone call with the VA, and the VA is giving him a runaround about stuff and his benefits and not giving them to him. And again, he's being charming, polite. He's not getting angry. And I don't know. I just started thinking, I'm so quick to judge people. I'm so quick to not know their story and just make up my own about them and why they're being rude and whatever is happening. So, long story long, when I was done with my work, I got up and put my stuff away, and I turned around, and there he was sitting there about to make another phone call, and I decided I'm going to say something to this guy. And I'm an introvert, believe it or not. I'm a gregarious introvert, certainly. I'm maybe even what's called an ambivert, which is somewhere in the middle. But the point is, it takes a certain amount of getting over some embarrassment and some withhold to come up to a stranger and talk to them for me. But I decided to do this. So I walked to him and I said, pardon me. And he looked at me for a moment like, uh-oh, maybe I'm in trouble. And I said, I wasn't eavesdropping, but I couldn't help but overhear what you were saying. And I just wanted to say, hey, good luck. Good luck. I hope you get a job and that you can get yourself on your feet. And he just went, thanks so much. Wow. He goes, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna keep pushing forward, and I'm gonna do it. So thank you. And he shook my hand, and I walked away, and he called again to me, and he said, hey, thank you. That made my day. And I tell this story not because, hey, look at me, aren't I awesome? Look, my first reaction was, Captain Jerk came out and said, the nerve of this guy disturbing me. But then what came up was, who are you, Tim? Who are you? What kind of person are you going to be? What kind of impact are you going to have in the world for real? Not just thinking about it, but for real. How are you going to show up? And that's why answering these questions is really powerful and valuable. Because if it wasn't for knowing really who I want to be, who I'm practicing being, that kindness and empathy and compassion is part of who I count on myself to be as a human, as a person, that probably wouldn't have been on my radar to reevaluate quickly and go, wait a minute, what am I doing? Why am I convicting this person? And what if I could be a positive influence instead? Just a little bit. I didn't do much of anything. I just said, hey, good luck, and I hope you make it, and keep going. So that's the who am I question, and why it's a good thing to know, so that then you can test it against how you're showing up. You can test it against things. Same with the I want. What do you want? And when you really know that, you can test it against, well, is this job I'm being offered really in line with the experience I want in my life? Or any other thing that you might have to decide about. It's like, is this really reflecting who I am? Or is this really, what it is I want out of my life? So today we're going to talk a little bit about, for a few minutes, where am I going? That's the third question. Where am I going? And a lot of people think that where am I going is about, well, here's my 5-year plan. And I'm going to make $1 million by the time I'm 30, or I'm going to be a president of a company, or I'm going to, rule the moon or something, And certainly goals are fine. Goals are great. But the really interesting answer to where am I going that I'm interested in is, how is my vision of my life and moving forward a outward manifestation of who am I and what do I want? So when that's why these go in an order. You can't do them out of order. And by the way, a lot of times people start with, especially men who are very goal-oriented, start with, where am I going? What do I want? What am I going to achieve? Or they start with, what do I want? What things am I going to get? And who am I is usually a distant third. But if you do it in this order, those questions or the answers to those questions inform where you're headed and what your vision of your life is. And this is, there's always a time to have roadmaps and goals and milestones and all that, and that's fine when you're really implementing things. But first you have to start with, what is the vision I have for my life that's bigger than just me? What is it that I could be part of that is something bigger than just my survival, that's something bigger than just my creature comforts? That's really what the question, where am I going, is about. And if you have a family, if you have kids, whatever, or you're married, this will probably encompass, where's my family going? What vision do I have for them, as the years roll by? And if you want to do it, what's my 6-month goal, my year goal, my 3-year, my 5-year, that's fine. But you don't have to. It can just be like, what do I want my life to be about? And how am I going to actually manifest that in the world? And if you get to be my ripe old age or older, you may even start thinking about legacy. Legacy is basically, what do I want to be remembered for? Or how do I want to be remembered? Sometimes in classes and workshops, I play a little game where it's like you write your own tombstone. It's basically, what will it say? What will Tim be remembered for? Blah, 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 and, then he died. So you might want to even try that if you're thinking about legacy, if you're thinking about what you want to leave behind for your children, for the world. There is being part of something bigger than you, because that's what really sustains you. It sustains you through when you're sad, depressed, defeated, upset, whatever it is, all the things that knock you down, the obstacles, the challenges, and they're always going to be there. It's when you realize, but I'm actually about something more than just me. Now, I've really conspicuously left out how. There's I can't remember who it is, there's a coach who calls them, or a writer who calls them the horrible hows. And that is, whenever you start dreaming, whenever you start thinking about a vision for what you want to do in your life, immediately that practical part of you steps in and goes, yeah, well, how's that going to happen? And usually something along the lines of, that can't happen. I don't see how that could happen. So while you're doing it and you're answering this question, try to put that voice aside. Try to just say, thanks a lot. We'll get to that. We'll get to the how. We will. But right now, just have the vision of what's possible. What is possible? And not in a practical sort of nitty-gritty sort of way, because nothing new comes out of what you already know. Nothing. I mean, it doesn't. Nothing new comes out of what you already know. It's impossible. If you use only what you know, and the how is always answered immediately out of what you already know, and the resources that you know or can recognize you have, then you won't create something new. It'll just be the same old thing. So while you're visioning, while you're thinking about, what do I want my life to be about, and you're having this dream, don't get hung up on how's that going to happen. Because once you get intent on where you're going, what you're doing, it's amazing how some resources start to show up. Like magically. There's a quote, which I won't be able to do by memory, that just says, once you take action, once you're committed, then other forces, providence starts to move, and other forces show up that really are amazing in terms of how they start speeding you on your way toward what you are intent on doing. All right, so that's about it for where am I going? And those are the main 3 questions. Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? That give you a foundation for a healthy masculinity. And that's, like I said, to women who are watching out there, there is no reason you can't answer these questions yet. I'm talking to men in particular because I know men get really bogged down when they don't know who they are, what they want, and where they're going. They get very depressed. They get very lonely. So that's why I'm encouraging them. And, let's face it, you gals out there do a lot of inner work and a lot of stuff together and look at these questions. And men are a little bit, reticent, let's say. Let's put it that way, sometimes, to do that. Now, surprise bonus, there is actually a 4th question. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, There is a fourth question, and it's really important, but you have to answer the first three first. And lots and lots and lots of people try to answer the fourth one first. So see if you can guess what that fourth question is, and we will talk tomorrow. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great day, and see you next time. Bye-bye.